Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Rover Project Enhancements V527, Client Cloud Storage Expanded, Housekeeping Return Status Added to Out of Order, Out of Service Screens, and more, presented by StayNTouch Implementation Consultant, James Lee. I'm your host, Erin Fisher, the content writer here at StayNTouch. Today's presentation will cover how you can get the most out of the Rover V527 project release. In this webinar, we will explore the expansion of client cloud storage, review how to set rooms and service status from the room diary, discover housekeeping return status added to out of order, out of service screens, explore the removal of currency symbols from CSV exports for the business on the books report, daily production by room type report, daily production by rate report, and forecast report, and then finally discover the addition of new scheduled reports and exports. We will have a short Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation, and we will answer them in the order they are received at the end. And that's all I have right now. James, I'm going to hand the presentation over to you.
Thanks, Erin. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is a new function that we have rolled out, and that is the ability to do file attachments to reservations, company cards, travel agency cards, as well as group cards. I'm going to log into one of our lab environments here. And the first thing you're going to need to do is to activate the functionality. And to do that, you're going to go into Settings. And then under Cards, you have an option here for File Attachments. To activate this, you just toggle the switch to Active. Make sure you select whether it's going to be a Google Drive or Dropbox that's going to actually store these attachments, and then identify the actual Google Drive or Cloud Drive that you want that to go to. Once you activate this, you will update the areas that you want to be able to attach to be able to store attachments. So your options are state card, guest card, groups, allotments, and company TA cards. In addition to this, you need to make sure that all your users have the appropriate permissions to access this information. There are 4 permissions that have been added. By default, nobody has them, so you need to make sure that at least your hotel admin or whoever wants to be able to access this information has these permissions. If you go into permissions here and just do a Control F, this is just a Chrome search, so it's easy to find, and just look for the word cloud. You'll find these 4 permissions. So they are separated by the ability to view an attachment, to upload an attachment, to download an attachment, and to delete an attachment. And now I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how we do the attachments. So if I go into my dashboard here, and let's say, for example, I have a credit card authorization for a reservation that is coming in today. So here I've received the attachment. I stored it on my computer here so I can attach it to the reservation. If I go into Roxy May's reservation here, under the notes area, I do have the option now for toggle switch. If I change it to files, I can go ahead and add new, and then I find the file I want to update. Here I have the Roxy May auth form. And now I have the form here. If I need to access the form, I would probably then add a note because you definitely want that verification or that notification that you have the auth on file. So credit card auth stored and attached to reservation. So when I'm checking in this guest, I see the notes here. I can come here to notes and I see that it's attached to the reservation. I go to files, I have the form and I can click on it. By clicking on it, it does give me a preview view, so I can actually preview it and take a look at it. And I see the credit card information here. I see that's going to be covering hotel room and tax. I can either download the file. Maybe I need to print it for whatever reason. I can go ahead and download it. And then I have replace and delete file as well. Now, other areas that you can attach these to, let's say, for example, I want to take a look at the company card. I see that Roxy May is with ABC Hardware. If I go into the company card here and open that, I have my notes and files option here. From here, I can go ahead and go to files, and I can see that I have their contract here. This is their contract negotiated rate. I could open this. This is going to give me information about their contract, so I can see what their rates are, any stipulations, like maybe they get breakfast or something like that with their rates. All that information is going to be listed here. And of course, you can replace the file. So maybe it's in 2021 and you need to update the contract. You can replace the file for the 2021 contract, or you just add it, because you can add as many files as you want. And then you could delete it if you need to, or download the file here. In addition to company, travel agency, and guest profiles, or cards, I should say, you can also attach these to groups. So this will come in handy if you want to start attaching your group contracts to your groups. You can go to Manage Groups here. Now I'm a webinar group, and I have my Notes and Files tab here. And then I can upload a group contract here if I need to. All right. So next thing we're going to talk about is the ability to set room service status on Room Diary. And I'm going to actually jump hotels here. Switch over to my training environment, which is the James Hotel, New York City. So we have rolled out the ability now that you could update housekeeping status from the Room Diary directly. So if I go into my main menu here and I go to Front Desk and I go to Room Diary, I can see all my room numbers here, and you'll notice now they have a kind of a cell with the room numbers here. And by cell, I mean just like the square outline around it. But from here, I can actually click on the room number, and now I get a room housekeeping status update. So I can say, you know what, maybe I know that 401 is dirty. I can go and update it to inspected. Notice the colors do change as I do change the different statuses. But say if I set it to inspected, confirm status, and that updates the status. In addition to that, you can also set rooms out of order, which actually brings me to my next feature. Under service status, if I was putting a room out of order, we now have the ability to set a return status. So we can set what housekeeping status we want this room to go into when it comes back into service. If you're familiar with Rover housekeeping, you might be aware that previously, when your room would come back into in service, it would always come back in the status that it was at. So for example, if I had set a clean and inspected room out of order because I knew it needed some painting, but I didn't remember to update it to dirty, when it would come back into service, it would come back as an inspected room. It's probably not the case. You probably want to at least set it as a pickup so somebody checks it to make sure that everything is okay with that. But now we have the ability to actually set it as a status, so I can set it to inspected or dirty when it comes back into order. The next thing we're going to talk about is our downloading certain reports. We have removed the currency symbol from some of our exports. We heard some clients that, you know, sometimes it causes issues when they're trying to look at this information in Excel, or if they were trying to export this to some kind of third-party software, the currency symbols sometimes could get in the way and they would have to go in and remove them and all that stuff. So we have taken the liberty to remove those currency symbols for you. And the example for that is if I take a look at the business on the books report here, I'm going to go and run the report. Looks like I already have one here. So I can actually download this. And it's going to give me a CSV format that opens up in Excel. And you'll notice now the currency symbol has disappeared. This currency symbol has been removed from the business on the books, the daily production by room type report, the daily production by rate report, as well as the forecast report. In addition to reports that we removed this from, we've also added some reports to our report scheduler. And I'm going to just kind of show those to you that we have. But if I go into my reports and go to schedule a report export here, and I hit new report schedule, we have added the add-on forecast report. So this now can be emailed on a daily basis. It is going to be a CSV format, so you can open it up in Excel. And then we've also added the forecast guest in groups report. And that also is going to be a CSV format that you can open Excel. So both of these reports can now be scheduled to be emailed to you however often you would like. And that is going to bring us to the end of our features for version 5.27. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Erin.
All right. Thanks, James, for that insightful presentation. I'd now like to turn over the floor for questions. Remember, you can submit questions through the question box in the middle of the control panel. So I'll give everyone a couple seconds to enter those. All right, and our first question is, can you show us how to set up Google Drive or Dropbox for file storage?
Absolutely. So we've rolled this function out probably 6-7 months ago. We were able to now store reports. So report scheduler can be emailed or it can be stored in Google Drive or Dropbox. To access that, you're going to go Hotel and Staff, and you have these two options here. Now, my personal recommendation, I like Google Drive because it's easiest. If I clicked on Google Drive and I hit Add New here, it would actually just give me a login prompt to log into my Google account, and then it will automatically generate the access token for me and populate all that information for you. The only thing you need to do is give it a description. You can have multiple Google Drive accounts, so you can have one drive maybe set up for your reports and exports, and maybe a separate drive created for your hotel attachments that are to reservations and guest profiles and what have you. It is a good idea, though, if you are going to use these drives to do a specific drive for the hotel and not your own personal drives. And I would also recommend that you do the purchase version. That way you don't have any limitations, or if you do have limitations, they're set very high for how much storage space you have. For Dropbox, it is a little bit more complicated. You do have to go into Dropbox and create an API access token. There's several articles online. Dropbox has a very detailed step-by-step. I say complicated, it's not really. It's actually very easy. You just have to do it in Dropbox directly there. Once you get the access token from there, you would hit Add New here and give it a description and put that access token for your Dropbox account. And same concept with Google Drive, you can have multiple Dropbox accounts here. Dropbox, the one thing I do like about that is you do have the ability to direct a certain folder. So you can actually find a folder in Dropbox and have that exports go directly to that folder.
Great. And then the next question is, what kind of files can you upload to Google Drive or Dropbox?
Oh, any type of files. If you think of it kind of an email, any kind of attachment that you could do on an email, so that's PDF, it could be a photo, it could be a Word document, Excel, PowerPoint presentation, what have you. If you could attach it to an email, you can upload it to a reservation or stay card or guest card or what have you.
Great. Thanks, James. And right now, since there are no more questions, I'd like to take to the floor to offer some final thoughts. All right. So today we explored the expansion of client cloud storage, reviewed how to set room and service status from the room diary, discovered housekeeping return status added to the out of order, out of service screens, explored the removal of currency symbols from CSV exports for the business on the books report, daily production by room type report, daily production by rate report, and forecast report. And then finally, we discovered the addition of new scheduled reports and exports. With that, I'd like to conclude our presentation. Thank you all for coming. If you have any additional questions, feel free to email me at aaron.fisher@stayintouch.com. Thanks again.